Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So today we're playing a little game called What's Behind That Door? Actually, I'm joking around. Today we have another experiment with you guys today, and that is making two-wheelers. Alright, so after making my hovercraft, which is something I've always wanted to build but never got a chance to do so, and after that, I thought of making some two-wheelers, like a motorcycle, motorbikes, and things like that. So, want to see if it was possible with vanilla space engineers, and potentially even check out some mods to see if we could find something that's pretty nice. So, as we're playing the game, what's behind that door? Number one here is my initial experiment. Alright, so this is my rust bucket two-wheeler. So it's technically a two-wheeler because it's actually two wheels attached to each other on front side and back side. So what I did here is basically add a rotor system here, a wheel attached to another wheel, and then another rotor here, which they're all connected. So I had them both attached on both sides. I was trying to make it more of a single tire, but that wasn't possible because the rotors are too close together and you can't merge two blocks into one in that sense. So I had to kind of forego that a bit. So I decided to just do a thicker wheel. It's still, I would kind of consider it a one-wheeler here, one-wheeler in the front, one wheel in the back, just real thick. And kind of poorly designed how to make the diagonal angle up into the top grid here. I added some lights and then some gyroscopes if necessary. And of course a buggy cockpit just to make it look decent. The buggy cockpit makes sense in this build because it's 2 blocks wide, which is perfect. As you see here, is 2 gyroscopes, and the wheels are 2 blocks wide as well. So it makes sense that way, and it looks pretty cool. This rust bucket is running on batteries. All the batteries are kind of hitting inside. You might see some on the outside really quick. You might see some outside right here, but inside you'll see all these little batteries here. So use of small batteries is easier than a bigger large battery because it just you can hide them a lot better. Right, this system is based on rotors, of course, that whole rotor wheel system that I've always been using here and there for like the gondola, for the drilling rigs, for the elevators. So this thing, of course, is not going to go too fast. So as you see here, we have our rotors RPMs and stuff down there on the toolbar. So this thing can go as fast as 60 RPMs forward and backwards. So if we max them out, that's what it's gonna look like basically. It's gonna travel close to it's barely making 5 meters per second. And of course the button 2 is to slow it down or reverse it in any way, as you see here. And of course I added a reverse button so we can quickly hit the 3, just do a quick turnaround. So of course turning is a big issue here. I mean, it's solved with gyroscopes, to be honest. I just throw on the gyroscope and I can just spin it this way, as you see here. I could also do a little bit of a wheelie. So this was my rust bucket idea initially, just to see if a two-wheeler kind of does work. It technically works, not the best thing in the world, as you can see here, because one, it's so slow, and yeah, it's just slow, to be honest. Turning is okay, it's not too bad. It's just the speed of it is not the best. Alright, so let's park this guy back in this garage. Alright, so that is vehicle number 1. Our first two-wheeler, our rust bucket. Let's close that out because we don't want to see that thing ever again. So what's under door number 2? So door number 2, it's actually the same thing. Alright, so number 2 is the same build, copied and paste. The only difference is that I actually added thrusters in the back to give it, forward momentum. So we can, pick up more speed than the speed that we were just dealing with just before. So what I did here is basically take all the torque out. Here we can add some torque right now just to slow it down. There you go. to stop it. So let's take out all the torque. So if you can see in the control panel, I put in my toolbar over there. If you're curious, all my rotors are torqueless right here, as you see. And I added the 2 thrusters in the back, none in the front or side, so there's no slowing down, braking, or anything like that. So what this looks like is basically kind of a 2-wheeler, close to a bike in a way, but it's more closer to a rover. And this thing goes pretty quick, with the exception that it can brake. So here we go. There you go. So you see everything just brakes with the speed of it, so that's just not the best thing in the world. Alright, so I got another one. So that one brakes easy because it's, you know, you drive really quickly with it, it's gonna brake. So the best idea for this one is maybe add a thruster overrides on with a slighter speed or slower speed, or tap forward as slowly as possible or quickly as much as you want. But it does pick up some speed. It's not the greatest thing in the world because it does bounce, as you see here. And if I just slowly try to pick up more speed, it still brakes. So that's very, very unfortunate. And we just pretty much have a ship here, basically. So I think I could fly this thing up. Yep, there you go. So we have a bit of a ship or whatnot instead of a 2-wheeler. So that is a little bit different than what I wanted it to do. Alright, so we destroyed that one. We're just gonna close that one. So what is in door number 3? Alright, so my door number 3 is my next rover, which is technically a 4-wheeler, but I smushed the wheels together to get it close to kind of looking like a 2-wheeler, like the rotors. So this is similar to the rotor system, except 1, more designed, and 2, it's using suspension wheels. So this thing here is a little longer, so longer wheelbase, but a very, very thin in terms of the left and right sides of it. So this rover is similar because it uses 4 rubber wheels, but intended to technically be 1 in the front and the back. I don't know if you would consider this as a 2-wheeler, but this thing is, in my opinion, pretty damn cool. So this thing has batteries just like the other one, small batteries, so they're all merged inside here, or created inside there. And it has a buggy cockpit again, or a buggy seat. The back has the same 2-wheel system, suspensions, some exhaust just for effects. It has a bit of a spoiler and some additional designs. So it's a very simple build. It also has 2 gyroscopes in here. So you see them back here on the bottom. Very dangerous spot to add them, but that's where they are. And this guy rides pretty much like a dream. You got your 2 wheels on front and back, or 4 wheels, very close together. You got some lights, exhaust, and everything like that. And if we're gonna look at it, look, it goes pretty damn fast. So here we have a good turning radius. It's very wide turning radius, and we go straight. You'll see how quickly it can go. It can go close to 100 meters per second, and you can turn it by going left and right if you wanted to, or you can slowly adjust it with the gyroscope using your controls for your mouse left and right to kind of get it to turn. So what I've been doing is actually using my kind of like tilting my Q and E's to tilt while I'm spinning it left and right on my mouse to get a nice smooth turn. But for the most part, this thing drives really, really like a dream. It moves quick. It has a little bit of issues or clang issues there, but for the most part, it's okay. And you can do a little bit of wheelie too with the gyroscopes here, and it's freaking out a little bit, but I just let go forward a little bit, and it just drives fine afterwards. So once we get a certain speed, that's when it kind of freaks out. But hey, it didn't brake while driving forward, right? But if you turn it so slightly at a higher speed, that can happen and be an issue, but that's not too bad. Alright, so we're back in our garage, and we're gonna figure out what is in door number 4. The door number 4 is going to be this guy. Right, so this is my actual two-wheeler that I created that's similar to the other rover that has 4 wheels but smushed together. This one actually does have 2 rubber wheels, as you see here, 1 front, 1 back. It does have 4 suspensions, however, only 2 suspensions are connected to the wheels. So we have 1 here connected, not connected here, and in the back, same thing. 1 connected and 1 not connected in the back. And this thing is built very similar, just a little smaller than the rover just before. So this thing has a lot of batteries too, but it's built on the side as I made this very compact. As you see, that's the buggy cockpit next to the batteries on the side and 2 gyroscopes. And of course, just in case, I put 2 gyroscopes, one who has its override on, which I'll show you guys. Right here has the override controls with a little bit of roll at -0.15, so that it, kind of able to tilt it left and right a bit while it's stationary. So you see here, I'm going to tilt it left and right here, or lean it. But if you turn it off, override, the lean is not as pronounced, so that becomes an issue. So like right now, I leaned it all to the left, and I cannot bring it back to the right. So it's a good idea if you're building something like this. It's always a good idea to have 2 gyroscopes, one that has some kind of override on it, and the other one to be free without override. Now you can easily move it left and right. See, as you see here. Now since I had it touching the ground before, I couldn't move without override, but with the override, I can easily move left and right without any issues, which is cool too. I can do wheelies or whatnot, whatever. We have thrusters, lights as similar like the rest, and this thing drives really great too. The gyroscope helps us turn, but we can turn as well. We have the front wheel to turn. It's a little bit awkward sometimes. It looks like it's touching the suspension, especially the one on the side. And again, this thing drives really great. So we could go forward, and we can actually make it at 100 or close to 100 meters per second. As you see here, it takes a while, but it's good. You see here, we can do a little wheelie if we wanted to. Let it go, and it's slowly gonna make it, but we're gonna hit 100 meters per second. I am also turning a bit too with my left and right. See if I can do it. Left and right here, it's turning a little bit. You see that it's turning. It's slow turning, so a lot easier to actually turn with the gyroscope or the mouse or your directional pad, whatever you're using. And again, this thing drives really, really great. So you can drive so fast, just like the other one. It does freak out a little bit, and you have to tilt it back left and right to position yourself a little more equally or straight at certain times. But it's not bad at all. But you see here, the wheels are freaking out a little bit, but it's not too bad. We're close to 100 meters per second, and nothing's breaking. See, this works out pretty well. Bit shaky, but it drives really, really great. I like this thing. This thing works out really great. So let's just stop this here. We hit close to 100. We hit about 95. We didn't go further than that. But of course, if you wanted to, you can also add thrusters on here and make it go even faster. So if I really wanted to do something like that, we can add it right here. And now we have the fastest two-wheeler in town. So it will just boost up to 100 really, really quickly. So we're at 100, and you see here the wheels are freaking out, but it's still working pretty well. Let's just not hit that tree, and we can probably fly with this as well if we wanted to. Yep, kind of in a way. But again, look at the speed on this thing. How well it flies. I'm gonna hit a tree right about now. Oof. And not too bad. We just made it bounce, and look how quickly we can drive this thing. How awesome is that? Alright, we are back in our garage. Most of our vehicles are gone, destroyed, or just left them roaming about. You may have noticed that there's another door here, which I didn't call number 1. This is my secret door, my secret hangar, with my cool rover on door number 3, but upgraded. to look like this. Alright, so what do we have here? We have our third rover, the third one we showed, but we flipped the tires around to make it a kind of hovercraft. It's not covered, but I just flipped the tires around just to make it look decent, or kind of float a little better than what we had previously. And of course, this thing is hooked up with thrusters. So we have backward thrusters, forward thrusters, sideways thrusters, and pistons as additional things versus what we had in the previous rover. We also had to add a few more batteries just to get the thrusters working properly and have enough energy. And of course, I'm not sure why, but when I'm in the garage, this thing freaks out. Like the first rover, the regular wheeled rovers, this thing drives really great. And with the thrusters, it makes it pretty cool left and right turns. I left the pistons here so that we can stop easily and have it not move too much. I initially used it just to build, but with the hovercraft I made previously, I used the same concept. But this thing drives extremely well. So we go forward here. We have a nice glide on the floor. We can turn easily like that and just glide around. And stopping is okay because we have our backward thrusters right here operating. But if we really needed to stop, what we can do is go really fast and then hit our pistons to go down, and it will just catch the floor and really slow us down a lot faster, as you see here. But if you wanted to go even faster with this, you can turn off your backwards thrusters and your forward thrusters go forward, and look at the speed on this thing. 100 meters per second or close to it, and look at that. The drive on this is great. Alright, so we're back here, and that's pretty much my two-wheeler systems I wanted to try out. Again, the rust bucket was the initial one I made to see if it worked, and it kind of does work. Adding suspensions to it worked out okay. So the best one I think I had was door number 3, number 4, which I kind of lost. Let me spawn them in again. Right here. So this is more of a rover, to be honest, so it's not, I wouldn't consider it a two-wheeler. But this one, as the experiment goes, it worked out really well. So I wasn't too sure how well it's going to work, but messing around with it, it definitely looks like it works really well, and I will probably use this in the future, to be honest, in maybe the Wasteland survival series that I have. I'll probably build something like this so I could roam around Pertam and explore it some more. But that's not all. I have one more left to go. Again, these are all vanilla Space Engineers builds. The only thing that you may need to build with these is Wasteland DLC because of the buggy cockpit and also the lights here and the bars here, or grates. But of course, you could probably build it with, you know, without those, and of course the rover cockpit instead. So you can always do that instead of getting the DLC. But of course, I bought all the DLCs because I want to play around with them. So yeah, so it's pretty much vanilla with some DLCs, but again, you can make them with straight vanilla. You don't need the DLCs to make these two-wheelers or so vehicles. But I scoured around the workshop and I was able to find something interesting that kind of works very much like a two-wheeler or a motorcycle. And then we get that around the back here. That's right, we have a motorcycle with these type of wheels. Of course, this is a modded wheel. This is actually found in the workshop. It's called Bike Wheels, and it's by Anthran Fireblade. And that mod you can add in your workshop by subscribing. Go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description below. So you have your bike suspension, your bike back wheel suspension, your bike wheel, and your bike wheel caps. So you can always add these into the wheels. And I realized I didn't add any of the wheel caps previously. So I think that's a nifty mod, which looks really good in terms of making a motorcycle or a bike. And what I did is basically built this using batteries as a base, to be honest. So I use small batteries as a base. So right inside, you have small batteries here. Yeah, we have small batteries here. it's actually 3 small batteries right here. You'll see them on the bottom. And then we added the wheel, the bike wheel in the front, which is a forward one, and a backwards one. Added some exhaust, some lights, and what we also did was add 2 gyroscopes, because you definitely need 2 gyroscopes to keep it kind of balanced, and so you could lean it left and right. And lastly, I added this here. Just it's another exhaust. I couldn't find anything pointy enough to use as like kind of like a kickstand, so that's what I made that for. I don't use that for anything. And of course, this thing drives pretty well as well. So ideally, you want to have the 2 gyroscopes so you can, again, lean left and right like this. So if you actually took that gyroscope that has the override controls off, you can't tilt it once it leans too much to the left or right. As you see here, I'm pressing as much as I can and nothing's happening in terms of leaning it. So again, you definitely need to have override controls on in order for it to be able to lean left and right. And of course, this thing is a little crazy in terms of gyroscope. Probably lower the power a little bit would be ideal, but I can pretty much just go crazy with the wheelies and everything like that. And ideally, I do want to get rid of this. I only did this to kind of make it see if it works or not, but if it touches the ground, it's gonna blow up the bike. So we're gonna try to avoid doing that, and let's go for our little test drive. As you see here, this bike works pretty well. The wheels are nice. It acts very similar to regular wheels, so you can always check that out. Alright, so I put it to unlimited speed to see if we can hit 100. Oh, it freaks out a little bit when you get close to 60. Oh, it's freaking out a lot now. At 85, everything's twisting a bit, so let's not get too crazy there. Slow down and see if we can do that again. Alright, so it does go crazy at around 80 meters per second. But this bike here, you can turn it as well. So you can do left and right turning. As you see here, left and right turning. But you do want to lean it a little bit, of course, to get a full turn. You can just lean it with the mouse or your controls if you want. But if you do turn, I would say you want to lean it in the right way. If you want to turn, you want to turn right. You want to lean it a little bit to the right as well. You want to turn left. Of course, you want to lean it a little to the left. That way too. But again, I think these wheels are pretty cool. This mod's pretty cool. So I'm glad to be able to find this on the workshop and play around with it. Keep in mind, in order to make this work, you need the 2 gyroscopes. If you don't have the 2 gyroscopes, it's not going to work too well. So I hope you guys find that interesting and fun, and hopefully maybe find a way to build this or find a better design and build it out. Alright, so that's gonna end our experiment for today. So just finding out if we can make a 2-wheeler rover possible, and it definitely is. Making a bike, definitely using a mod makes it look a lot better. Alright, so I know you guys been asking for a workshop of my builds. For those rovers back there, potentially, or everything I make in the survival series. I hope to get that running as soon as possible. I did get it tweaking with it a little bit and seemed to find a way to do it without any issues, because for some reason I keep running into issues with it previously. I'm not sure why, but I kind of found a fix for it, and I will have those available later down the line. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, this experiment, hit that thumbs up, like the video, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. Feel free to leave us some comments. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.